This regular meeting of the Bellevue School District Board of Directors is now called to order, and we are going to start out with roll call. Keep in mind, Director Black is going to be here in 5 minutes. Okay. I'm Carolyn Watson.
Cindy Rogan.
Monica Monster.
Jay Naris.
Kelly Aramaki.
Okay, next we have the introduction of the students, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, President Watson. Good evening, everybody. And I'm going to delegate one of my favorite tasks to my colleague, James Peterson, who's the principal at Chinook.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Samuel Salamanca Quevedo and Avani Rajwat, both 8th graders here at Chinook Middle School. They are here supported this evening by family and 3 of our Chinook team members. We are all very proud of them.
Okay, so the first thing is we'd like to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag in the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with the liberty and justice for all.
And now we have the land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Duwamish and Snoqualmie tribes. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. We reflect on the historic context that brings us to reside on this land and accept the responsibility to interrupt erasure. We commit to an ongoing partnership with the Snoqualmie tribe as we listen to, learn from, and lead with guidance.
Okay, next we'd like to hear whatever it is that you would like to tell us.
Okay. Hi, my name is Avani Rajwat, and I'm an 8th grader here at Chinook Middle School. Before I entered middle school, I thought it would be a stressful and scary experience because it would be a new environment and I wouldn't know how to function in it. I was worried if I would be able to make friends or if middle school would just be mundane in general. However, reflecting on the past 2 years, I'm confident to say I'm having a great middle school experience. One of the things I really love about middle school is that we have many diverse electives and opportunities. Every student is required to choose a few electives every year, which pushes students to try new things. There weren't many that I thought I would enjoy. Begrudgingly, I took applied engineering in 6th grade. I thought it was going to be about coding and robotics related, which is what I dislike. However, I ended up building fun things like the Candy Skittle machine, which I still use today. I learned how to use different machines and engineering tools to craft artwork. Another elective I thought I would hate was choir. My mom told me to take it because she said it would probably be an easy A. Now, I'm in advanced choir, and I don't do it because it's an easy A, but because I genuinely like it. I made a lot of new friends, and I enjoy the frequent field trips to perform. At the end of the year, for intermediate and advanced music students, we get to have a field trip at Wild Waves. I had an opportunity to be a web leader. As a web leader, we welcome new 6th graders to the school and help them adjust to the new environment. When I was a 6th grader, I felt nervous and scared, and I didn't want the incoming 6th graders to feel the same way I felt. Being a web leader also gave me the opportunity to work on and improve my leadership skills by guiding the new students and helping them transition smoothly. Being an 8th grader is probably the best year as a middle schooler. We know how the system works and can handle the workload. All my fears of being in 6th grade were unfounded. I'm having a lot of fun with friends, and I've made and thriving in all of my classes. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you for that. That was a little bit fun to listen to. Yeah. Anyway, now we're going to go on to the. Oh, you get your turn. I'm sorry. I'm used to only one. That's okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so my name is Samuel Salamanca Quevedo, so I'm in 8th grade. I want to talk about Chinook and my my big experience in this school. I'm staying first in 7th grade last year. I like everything in this school because I'm staying in 7th grade. I don't have so much friends. I'm so hard in English, but I like everything and new experience. I like my old classes. My hard class is LA, but I try to have A. I like my friends. I like my school. Have a nice lessons. Have a nice teachers, nice counselors. I like everything in this school. So for me, it's hard because I'm Latino. I'm not good in English, but I'm trying every day for talk to everybody.
Thank you for sharing with us. And I'm glad you like the school. And I like Star Wars too. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to go on to acknowledgements. All right. For acknowledgements this time, we have National Native American Heritage Month. We had Dia de los Muertos. We have Diwali. We have on the second, Birth of the Bob. Then we had Birth of Baha'u'llah. And then from the 6th to the 10th, we have National School Psychology Awareness Week. And on the 13th, World Kindness Day. Okay. Next, we're going to go on to the approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to move to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of the agenda as it exists, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're going to stick with our agenda. All right. Next, we're going to look at the consent agenda. So would anybody like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good. The consent agenda is good to go. All right. And then we're going to move on to the superintendent update.
Great. Thank you, President Watson. Thanks to the students. I really appreciated that, just hearing you share about Chinook. And it takes a lot of courage to talk about things that are hard, but it's incredible to see how much you've learned. And so thank you to the two students. Thank you for being courageous and for sharing with us today. Just in general, am very proud of our students. I know this week has been an interesting week with the elections, and for us as adults, sometimes we struggle with the divisiveness and the polarization, but I've just been completely impressed with our kids. They have done such a good job in maintaining community with each other, in showing respect to each other and care for each other. And so I just want to shout out all of the students. When it feels like it's so hard for us as adults to stay unified, our kids show us that it can be done. So shout out to the students. I want to just say this fall, with the rain and the clouds also come just incredible celebrations. And so last Friday, I was able to go to Dia de los Muertos celebration at Sammamish High School, and it was nothing short of spectacular. The entire community came out and celebrated, and there were ofrendas from so many different schools, not just in Bellevue, but in Lake Washington. And this is a picture of part of the ofrenda from Highland Middle School. And it was incredible just to see the students putting together ofrendas that honor the lives of people that have been lost. I'm particularly impressed with Sammamish High School had an ofrenda where they honored all of the students that have died from school shootings. And so they had pictures of kids from Appalachia High School and from Columbine, and it was moving. And they had all of these food and treats and things that kids would just love. And the kids were able to talk about it, and it was just very, very impressive. So I want to say thank you to Tina Morales from Youth Eastside Services. She helps run Latino Heat at Sammamish, and she's incredible. I mean, she does so much to help organize these events, but she also is just the heartbeat of the community. And so thank you to Tina. We also are celebrating Diwali as a community. And so there's a picture of me. I went to Ardmore yesterday. The staff celebrated Diwali with this incredible luncheon made by the many staff at Ardmore that have Indian background. And so our kids have been celebrating all over the community, which has been really, really amazing. I also want to celebrate Jennifer Bitter. She is an art teacher at Newport High School, and she's been honored as the Washington State Secondary Art Teacher of the Year this year. And she is absolutely incredible. The stuff that she does with kids, she doesn't just teach them art, but she teaches them to love themselves and to embrace community. And she helps them to express everything that they care about through their artwork. She teaches AP art, where kids develop portfolios. But she's an unbelievable art teacher. And you can see her students' work at that Instagram handle that's on the screen. But just a shout out to Jennifer Bitter. And we did a podcast about Jennifer Bitter. And so the podcasts were starting to roll out soon. But something I just am so impressed with about her is that she just talked about her students and she talked about her art teacher colleagues in Bellevue. And so an incredible educator. She reflects the excellence of educators here in Bellevue, and we are very, very proud of her. I'm going to have Principal Susan Thomas come up. She is the proud principal of Highland Middle School, and we're just thrilled about the work that they're doing at Highland, and she's here to talk about an award that her PTSA received.
Thank you, Dr. Aramaki. Madam President and board members, I appreciate you giving me just a couple of minutes in the superintendent's comment. I'd like to also recognize that Highland, the Mamas de Highland, won the Ofrenda contest, and that's the third year in a row that Highland has won. So I'm exceptionally proud. And so this is an award that our PTSA won. It was given to us by the National PTA, and I especially would like to thank Ana Vicente, who was our president last year, and Jimena Alvarez, who is our president this year. And I would just like to read this to you and then I'll be gone. But dear Highland Middle School PTSA, on behalf of National PTA, I am thrilled to congratulate you on being named a 2023-2025 National PTA School of Excellence and the 2024 Phoebe Apperson Hearst Outstanding Family School Partnership Award recipient. You should be especially proud of this accomplishment as your PTA rose to the top of all 319 designees to earn this award, the highest honor National PTA presents for effective family engagement. It takes special dedication and perseverance to be recognized with this award and designation, and we commend and thank you for all your hard work. Your PTA and school are an outstanding example of the amazing things that can be achieved when schools and families work together to accomplish a common goal. Your work to strengthen your family-school partnership by adopting National PTA's national standards for family-school partnerships promotes a learning environment where families feel welcomed, included, and empowered to support their child's success, and where students feel safe, supported, and ready to learn. As a National PTA School of Excellence and the 2024 Phoebe Apperson Hearst Outstanding Family School Partnership Award recipient, your PTA and school will be known as a national leader in family school partnerships that are making a positive impact for all students and families in your school. We applaud your hard work and leadership throughout this process. You have made National PTA and your school community proud. Congratulations once again on achieving this significant award. Warm regards, Yvonne Johnson, who is the National PTA president. So thank you.
So congratulations to Highland. The PTSA there is really remarkable, as are the staff under the leadership of Susan Thomas. And I think for those of us who were participating in the middle school consolidation conversations and we were at Highland, you could just see it. I mean, just the agency and engagement of families was really remarkable. So congratulations to Highland. Just a couple more things. We had a CTE advisory meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to show you. So in that bottom right picture is Jess Moyer, who's the director of CTE. But basically, the advisory meetings are where we bring together educators and people from the field, experts from the field, industry experts from the field, and they work together to build out our CTE programs. And it was just an inspiring event. All of the theater people got together in the theater, and you can see that's a picture of Newport High School's Romeo and Juliet set, which they have taking place in kind of modern day kind of homelessness encampment. And so they're just bringing kind of the Shakespeare to kind of modern day issues. And it was amazing to just see the CTE teachers, the tech theater teachers working together. The top right are the culinary, that's our culinary teacher at Newport High School. And it's just, I'm so thankful to our community and to all the businesses that come together with our teachers to build out CTE programs that are relevant for our kids, exciting, and prepare them for the workforce. This is a picture. We had about 150 families come together to talk about starting a Japanese language program in the Bellevue School District. And it was very exciting. People are very excited about the program. And so I just want to say we're looking forward to launching Japanese as our next language program in the fall of 2025. I don't have a picture of it, but related to that, we are also planning to start a parent partnership program. So to support, we have a number of families who homeschool in Bellevue. And so we are working to start a parent partnership program where families who homeschool can come together for social reasons, but also to have kind of STEM learning together, to be able to do recess together, have lunch together, and things like that. So we're working with families to design a partnership with our parents who choose to homeschool their kids. And last but not least, next Tuesday, right after the 3-day weekend, I'm hosting personally a book study on Jonathan Haidt's Anxious Generation. And so we've got about 70 people RSVP'd to come. It's going to be right here in this room, the Rainier Room. But these are the topics that we're going to cover. These are the topics that are in the book. And I'll just say, if you haven't read the book, you can still participate. We're going to make it so that you don't have to have read the book, but we can still engage in the content together. But you can see we're going to talk about the issue of the impact of smartphones and social media on mental health, anxiety, and depression. We're going to talk about his idea or concept of how we overprotect our kids outside, but underprotect our kids online. We're going to talk about the importance of play-based childhood and how it has really changed to a phone-based childhood. We're going to talk about this idea of promoting flip phones over smartphones in middle school. And then we're going to talk through kind of the pros and cons of what's becoming very popular around the cell phone bans in schools. And so we have a lot of diverse perspectives on cell phones in schools. Our schools are doing a lot to have kids put the phones away during class time, but this will be an opportunity for us to talk about it as well. So lots of fun things to talk about, 6:30 to 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening, right here in the Rainier Room. And with that, that's the end of my comments.
Great. So now we're on to public comment. And I always rely on Chief of Staff Harrison to organize that.
Thank you, President Watson. Happy to do that. We've got 4 speakers tonight. All of them are here in person. But before we begin, I'm hoping you will read out your guidelines before we start.
Yes, these you can see they're really tiny print. So what I try to do is just kind of point out some highlights. So each speaker gets 2 minutes because we can't have this part of the program go on forever. But we'd also ask that you would hold yourself to a standard of civility, which mostly everybody does. But so let's refrain from comments that are libelous or slanderous, that are not an invasion. Let's not have invasions of privacy, let's not have anything obscene or indecent or anything that would be harassment, intimidation, bullying, discrimination, nothing that would violate a lawful school regulation or incite an unlawful act, and anything that would cause a disruption of this meeting. But beyond that, we'd like to hear what everybody has to say.
Thank you, President Watson. I'm going to ask each speaker. The speakers are listed in order of your presentation. When you arrive at the table up front here, would you kindly please state your name for the record and then proceed with your comment. You'll see a clock. There it is on the wall. So you've got a visual representation of how much time you have left. So let's start with Sarah Buckley.
First time. Hi, I'm Sarah Buckley. My name is Sarah Buckley, and I have been a classroom teacher at Lake Hills Elementary for 7 years. I'm here today to advocate for my school community. Last spring, we were told that our school would receive the incoming students from the Polaris housing construction. While there were questions as to why Lake Hills was chosen as their home school, the staff immediately began advocating for how to support the families that we would welcome with open arms. We wrote letters to district leadership expressing the need for small class sizes and additional facilitators. The district reassured us that they would monitor numbers and prioritize support in our building for the upcoming school year. My classroom currently has 28 students. This is one student over the district's target for fourth grade. But the reality is that teaching in a title school requires significantly smaller class sizes to ensure optimal learning. School and district data will show the extent of student need in reading, math, and developing English proficiency. Beyond what can be quantified is the scope of my students' emotional needs and the energy required to create an environment where they feel safe and ready to learn. Increased enrollment has overextended our staff. Our lab facilitators are only able to serve a fraction of the students below benchmark in reading. Emotional and behavior needs are so extensive, often there is no available office staff to respond to a call for help. Most classrooms are not receiving any support from classified staff. Our MLL caseload is currently 89 students over target. Our staff is working beyond capacity to fight educational inequity that has become exacerbated this year due to increased enrollment. While the district provided additional FTE to lower class sizes in some grades, the reality is that Lake Hills students are systematically underserved. I would like to invite you to come to our school and spend time with our staff, students, and families to learn what our school community truly needs. Finally, I ask that the district reassess staffing, knowing that Lake Hills is a school with extensive needs and now a significantly larger population. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Connor Williams. I'm a sophomore at Sammamish High School, and I'm on the high school robotics team, the Robototes. FTC is a robotics program similar to our FRC program. Our team is honored to have two sister FTC teams, 16750 and 2043. Last weekend, our sister FTC teams had their competition, where they both competed with their robots. Since September, they've been working extremely hard to design, program, and build their robot completely from scratch in a time period of roughly 2 months. Because of this, they have gotten one step closer to the state championship and still have 2 competitions left to go. Now, additionally, our FRC team, 2412, is making progress in our advocacy work. Recently, we began planning a virtual national workshop to educate teams across the nation on how to advocate to their teachers, to their school boards, and to their states, all for STEM education. Teaching teams everything we've learned in the past couple of years. Now, last year, we also hosted a similar event, also reaching teams across the country. This led to us striving for spreading STEM education and STEM advocacy in areas beyond just Washington. And while the event was originally just intended for Washington, it eventually spread across the nation. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your consistent support.
Thank you. Yeah. We're ready. Yeah. Yeah.
My name is Lana Thompson. Thank you, board members, for your time and service to our community. My name is Lana Thompson, a parent of 2 Lake Hills students, including a 4th grader. I'm here to express concern about the district's decision to rezone a 360-unit complex to Lake Hills without providing adequate resources. In May, we voiced concerns that Lake Hills might struggle to handle a large influx of students with diverse needs. The district assured us that additional resources would follow, but the added staff has been insufficient. Our 4th graders are bearing the brunt of overcrowded classrooms, missing individualized support they desperately need. I see the toll on our kids firsthand: unmet IEP needs, parents volunteering due to staff shortages, and disruptive behavior, including a 911 call. The BEA collective bargaining agreement states staffing should be adjusted to meet the unique needs of schools, like school size, the number of multilingual learners, special education students, and those eligible for free or reduced lunch. The contract states staffing at schools impacted by these factors will be prioritized to help achieve class sizes lower than the target. However, each non-dual language 4th grade class exceeds the target at 28 students. Lake Hills has a high percentage of students requiring specialized services compared to other schools in the district, and at least 66% are eligible for free or reduced lunch. This raises concerns that the district's commitment to equitable staffing based on community need is not being applied here, potentially putting current and incoming students at a disadvantage. My ask is simple and urgent. Please urge the district to outline and communicate funding allocations and explain why and how Lake Hills students are prioritized. This level of transparency will allow us to effectively gather support to help advocate with our representatives. I also invite you to join me during my volunteer hours to see the challenges and opportunities firsthand. Together, let's build an understanding that we can drive meaningful advocacy for Lake Hills. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Indamita Vasani, and I'm a sophomore at Sammamish High School, and I'm on the robotics team. Recently, our team attended an off-season competition called Girls' Generation. Girls' Generation works to include and encourage women joining in STEM, and they also love to showcase our underrepresented minorities. They love to advocate for young women, and they just really push them to be in STEM more often, and we were so excited to participate. With all the amazing Washington teams competing, Sammamish was proudly a finalist. Moving on to our partnership with the National PTA, we are proud to be working with them to fundraise and bring support to low-income communities with robotics mentoring and online resources. We are currently in the midst of creating a grant system for high-need elementary schools across the nation. The system allows for any FTC and FRC teams to contribute funds, which will allow the PTA to distribute the money to starting robotics teams in other places in exchange for updates and pictures of how it's going. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, public commenters, and that concludes our comments for this evening, President Watson.
Okay, so now we're moving on to reports. And the report that we have tonight is athletics and activities, access and equity. So here we go.
Working? I'm going to set a timer for myself also, otherwise I think people who know me know that I can be somewhat long-winded.
But we like the topic.
Well, that's the trouble. So So for the record, my name is Jeff Lowell. I'm the district's Athletics and Activities Director. It is a pleasure to see all of you. It's been way too long since I've seen some of the directors here. Dr. Aramaki, good to see you again. President Watson, thank you for the time, as well as all the other directors. Thank you for the time. I'm happy to be here giving you kind of a high-level view of the work that's being done in the Athletics and Activities Department. And really when we're talking about equity and access, you got to see some of the best just a minute ago, and we'll touch on that in just a bit. In the spirit of celebrations, you saw in my report some celebrations. I'm going to add a couple others. The WI released its academic awards for fall sports, and out of our 23 WI sports this fall, 8 earned Distinguished Team Awards, and 12 earned outstanding team academic awards this fall. And then it's been a while since we've had Bellevue School District programs in the news, and there were two different articles in the Seattle Times this fall. We had a King 5 report. And then, I don't know if you were watching the Seahawks last weekend, but when halftime came on, the Fox was doing their halftime show, and all of a sudden there's the Bellevue High School Marching Band with all this background about it. It kind of fell out of my chair. It was pretty cool to see. And then I was going to also highlight, it's fantastic the Robototes were here and they introduced the Girls Gen. But what's awesome is that the team that actually, the alliance that won International School was part of that alliance this past Girls Gen competition. It was actually a very big deal for all of them too. And then we still have tons of teams playing in fall playoffs, football, soccer, volleyball, cross country championships this weekend at the state level over in Pasco, and then swimming. One of the things that I did when we're talking about equity and talking about really equity in competition, I did want to highlight a big change in the KINCO conference. The KINCO conference is the conference that all of our schools belong to. It is the largest conference in the state. I am proud of that fact. There are 25 member schools, over 2,000 at the high end, 362, and this is numbers 9 through 11 that the WI uses to actually classify schools. But 362 at the smallest. And scheduling is not done by size only now. That's one factor, but there are many others. And what we're really looking at is the opportunity for athletic directors to match and equate. So we're putting like type programs together. So we're getting better competitions, safer competitions. And what it does is allows schools to invest in and grow their programs. So instead of the haves always having and the haves not having not, what we're seeing is some broad-based success across all programs. I was told, and I really, when it comes to things like this, I hate talking about myself, but one of the things that I was told I should probably put in here is the work that's being done at the state level. I was asked a little over a year ago to throw my name in to be on the WI Executive Board, and then was selected to represent the Sea-King District 2. It's 72 schools. 1B, the smallest schools, all the way up to the largest 4As. So I represent all 72 of those schools on the WI Executive Board, and then immediately was asked to lead their handbook subcommittee. So there's a lot of work. If you've ever read the WI handbook, you have to have a law degree to actually get through it. And one of the things that I'm really focused on trying, not that that's a bad thing, General Counsel, but not everybody does have a law degree. So one of the things I'm trying to do is actually really systemically work with the WI staff to try and make that language accessible so that parents and students, when they're actually entering into high school, they know what it is that they're being asked to deal with. And then last spring, I was actually asked to chair a 23-member committee that is looking at transfer rules. So rules specifically about transfers from one school to another. We all know that we are a school choice state. And we're trying to align those rules to end up recognizing that a little bit better. I do want to touch on the fact that in these challenging budget times, we do have to charge athletic fees. This is something that started way back in 2007 when the district faced challenges back then as well. I am proud to say that we did not raise these at all until this year, and we're facing some kind of unprecedented challenges. We're focused on making sure that those are not a barrier if kids want to participate. We're finding ways to work with people. That work is really being done through athletic directors and accountants. So as families are slow to pay, advocacy, reaching out to those families and saying, okay, what can we do to work with you so that your kid can continue to participate and we don't lose kids because of a few dollars is really what the focus is. There is a second fee, that transportation fee. The biggest charge at any ASB at any one of the high schools is transportation to athletic and music events and some other events, things of the sort. So there is a transportation fee that is paid to offset that as well. And what that does is it allows other ASB revenue to end up going to allocate to other clubs and activities and things of the sort. And again, same kind of a focus, definitely not what we want to be a barrier to participation. The middle school level, I don't want to skip two. What happened there? Oh no, my other slide, it disappeared. I am going to celebrate our partnership with Jubilee Reach. I'm proud that Executive Director Randy Ang is in the back of the room. Randy and his leadership team, Warren Ang, Jen Lee, Jen Perry, Michaela and Ian White. Yeah, definitely wave at Randy in the back. They are phenomenal human beings that are focused on making sure that that middle school kids have a fantastic opportunity. And they you know, it's not just we want you out on the field to spend time there. We want to teach them about healthy competition. Want to make sure that they end up getting better in the activities that they're participating in. They want to make sure that they teach them how to be a good human as much as anything else. They guide site coaches, they invest in our schools, they organize programming, and without them, I feel like I would lose an opportunity to grow and learn. So one of the things I will highlight, just the last 2 years, this is what participation numbers look like in fall sports. And the reason I just highlighted 23, 24, 24, 25 is because after COVID, there was long discussions with Jubilee Reach to change the way they offered sports, specifically some of the team sports, soccer, basketball, where it used to be strictly co-ed. And what we were finding is that was potentially a barrier to some female participation. And separating it out to where soccer is in the fall for the boys and then spring for the girls, and basketball opposite, what we're finding is that there are more kids that are out participating. What I will continue to say, anybody who asks me, the staff there at Jubilee Reach is invested in making sure that they can deliver what they promise. So we continue to talk about different ways to end up supporting them. Excited about flag football in the winter 2 season that they end up running, and really excited that we have girls flag football at the high school level, where we can end up using that group of interested individuals at the high school level to go back and give back to the middle schools also. Some of the ways that we're talking about partnering to continue to support those as well. The Jubilee Reach staff is now getting ready to move into their winter 1, where they end up running interest groups. Not full ASB clubs, but running interest groups where they get a chance to then connect with students and get them involved in things and develop those interests very much aligned with what our district's vision is. As you can see, we don't have to do a whole lot in this district to get kids to find ways to elevate their voice. And 2 of the things that I'll continue to highlight, I'm blown away by the advocacy that the robotics students continue to, continue to share with anybody and everybody that'll listen to them. The grand opening of the STEAMnasium still was one of the highlights of the fall. And then the second thing, I am actually really excited about the ASB advisory that you got to read about and getting that off the ground. We'll see a slide about that in a second. The thing that I want to do this fall or this spring though is host some spring focus groups. And to really do that and do that well, one of the things that I'm working on doing and making sure that people understand what we're doing is actually importing demographic data into final forms that we use to register kids in athletics and activities, so that we can end up seeing participation and break it down demographically. So I haven't done that. I can do it, but I do want to inform people of what we're doing before it's just done, so that nobody then comes back and says, what's going on? So need to inform some, but this spring I'm looking to be able to call that data and then use that to have some targeted focus groups to see if we can't build some participation in areas that we may be lacking. That high school activity, the ASB advisory, one of the things that I am really excited about is training kids to train kids about ASB. It is not as hard as people think it is, but you got to dig into it just a little bit. I am thrilled to have what I'm going to call a partner in this year, who is governance-minded and focused on doing things the right way. And I truly appreciate, and I told him I didn't want to make anything awkward, but Director Block, it's been a pleasure to work with your son, work with your student to end up getting this off the ground. But I did tell him I was going to end up talking about it today. A couple other things real quick, high-level volunteers. One of the questions that was asked is, do people, if they want to volunteer in multiple places, have to apply multiple times? The answer is no. In one application, you can click every school. You can click that you want to do it in the Welcome Center. You can list 12 different contacts, and all of that ends up getting pulled into our system in one application. And from there, if there's any question, people can reach out to us, and we can end up looking in on the back end of things if things don't seem to be working the way they should. Answered a couple questions for people today. I did want to highlight two numbers. Our database right now has 17,118 background checks. Now, one of those levels of background checks are just parents. They go into Synergy. And then we have Innovative Mentoring. Innovative Mentoring is a database of volunteers. Right now, there are 6,139 people in that database that have said that they want to volunteer in the school district. And I've talked to two other people today as the Welcome Center gets developed about how this information can then be used to pair people up with areas of interest in the district. I'm going to highlight one last thing for you. I was asked to put enrollment in. I will fully admit I'm invested in trying to run postseason swim meets. So I chose 1 month's enrollment from 2023-24 and just chose November because it seems to be a month that's pretty stable over time, right? There's not a lot of people leaving it that month they're coming in. So I picked that to put that enrollment in. And you can see that, that the numbers last year are relatively balanced. There are still some differences. They can be explained as we dig into this. I am certainly happy to come back and end up digging into other data and sharing that with you about field trips rather than taking a ton of time. And then I ended up putting this last slide in to let you know that as you look at athletic travel, there are regular season retreats, there are regular season competitions, and then postseason. And all of them are kind of different in the way they get scheduled. They're typically done by program or coach interest. They can be annual. Some teams do them annually, others do them biannually. It's kind of the same thing for music retreats. And it's what I would say is that there are a lot of clubs that have regular annual competitions they end up going to. And then audition competitions for music programs might end up being more of a biannual thing. So I wanted to add that detail in there for you as well. Okay, I'm a little over 10 minutes, but tried not to rush through anything. And I'm happy to answer any question you might have.
Yeah, sure.
I just have to make one quick comment before the board gives their feedback. I will say, watching you turn off your timer reminds me of what happens in the morning when my alarm goes off. I push the button and then I just stay in bed.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I like that you used it though. That was great. The second thing is just a shout out to Jubilee Reach. I was at Ardmore and there's all these little kids getting on buses. And I'm like, where are these kids going? It was Wednesday. And there's a Jubilee Reach 2 coach buses going over to Stevenson to play soccer. So I didn't even realize that we had elementary kids, Jubilee Sports, but
15 schools. Yeah.
that was awesome. I mean, the kids were just screaming. They're so excited to get on that bus. And I don't know how the game turned out, but it didn't seem to matter. They were just so happy to get on these big, beautiful coach buses. So thank you. Okay, that's it.
All right. So now we're going to have time for some board discussion. And I guess since I don't know who to call on first, I'm going to go back to the die 6 that doesn't exist. All right. 3. All right.
Thank you, Jeff, for the report. And I totally agree. You could probably break this into 3 different sections and go on all night long. So thank you for trying to be succinct, but come back sometime. There's a lot to unpack here. What a robust program we have. It is overwhelming in such a positive way. Thank you for sharing as much as you could in one evening. And just a big shout out to Jubilee Reach. Hi, Randy. Good to see you. The partnership, I think our community partnership with Jubilee Reach is just obviously so important to reach so many of our kids who perhaps traditionally wouldn't be in a program. So big thank you to Randy and the site coaches. I was really excited to hear about that, again, the integration plan, and that you're looking at some targeted focus groups coming soon. And I'm assuming that's with students, not
Yes.
just with families and
Yes.
staff and coaches. Okay.
Yes.
I'd love to hear more, or even just be a fly on the wall and be present. As much as we can get information from kids, I think is really critical. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I'll wait in case we have a second round.
So before we go to the next person, I am happy, once that plan gets developed, I'm happy to share the dates with you all. And then if you all want to come out to different dates, I'm happy to have you there.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Director Webster.
Hi, I appreciate the report, Mr. Lowell. I've had the privilege of working with Mr. Lowell on a few occasions when my son was playing sports, and it's been such a pleasure just connecting with you. Even as a parent, you've always been so responsive and collaborative, and I just appreciate your dedication to our students and families. So thank you. And yeah, you answered a lot of the questions that we had on Monday. And I guess the only thing that I have is just really an appreciation for the demographic information that you're planning on uploading. I think that it's important that we see who we're missing and who we're unable to serve, so that we can make sure that we're offering the same opportunities to all of our students. So I'm really excited about that. And then one thing that I just kind of wanted to mentioned was it sounds like building staff might be the individuals that are helping some of our students who may not have the financial resources to pay for some of these activities.
Where it's probably a good clarification. That's where it starts.
Oh, okay. Because I was just wondering, about the families who might just be slightly over income. And yeah, I think last year, I know I had a couple of calls from some students who were wanting to participate in an extra curricular activity that was being put on at their school, and they, even though the parents didn't meet the full financial criteria to pay, but even with the minimal amount of money that they were asked to pay, they weren't able to do that. And so I'm just wondering if we have an opportunity to appoint somebody, to help them navigate like additional resources for those things. I know that, we were able to get Dr. Aramaki to help with that. And it was easy, it was quick. The kids were able to participate and they were really, really grateful. But just moving forward, I know I've heard from other staff that they're helping similar situations. So I'm just curious around that.
Okay. You've got me thinking already of a couple ways we could communicate some paths, and without airing ideas tonight. I've got a couple ideas already, just hearing you talk about that. So obviously fees are waived for anybody who hits that threshold, that qualification. And what I do know, the easiest thing that people are able to do is, what can you pay today, right? And then if there's a plan that's put together, right, somebody just wants to play, just wants to run cross country in the fall, if it takes them all year to pay, nobody's going to keep them from doing it. But I've got some other ideas, just based off of what you said. I've got some other ideas that I'll look into.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hi. First of all, shout out to Jubilee Reach for all the wonderful partnership. I remember when my daughter was in Tillicum and all the wonderful activities she was able to participate because of Jubilee Reach. And so I want to say kudos to Jubilee and also our robotics students who are continuously doing their advocacy work. And that has to do with the fact that we give them the opportunity to be empowered. And so thank you for leading that and helping that with that. I do have some questions, and unfortunately I was not here on Monday meeting, so I'm not quite sure if these questions were already asked, so I'll go ahead and ask. I know that our community is complicated because we have fairly large number of families who's new to our education system, so they don't know how it functions, and it's complex. It's everything from online to what is available. People don't know. as well as we have the full breadth and depth of economic abilities. And we understand that what is considered to be low income at federal level does not necessarily address the need in our community because of the cost of living expenses. And I think that's what Director Webster was kind of leaning into. And I wonder, and you may have thought of this already, is that if there's a possibility of offering, well, one, there's a pride component of families and students. And so how do we make sure that they have access to the activities discreetly without, putting a flag around them saying that they need that support? And I'm curious to know if this is part of the application process when they sign up for a school year, where they could flag themselves without or letting the district know that they need support. And if there's any kind of sliding scale or opportunities that they could sign into. So as you said, instead of paying all up at once throughout the year, a little bit at a time, something that is upfront so they know when they have to look at that form, so that it's all, we have to think about, we are teaching kindergartners, right? Mm-hmm. Everything has to be clear and direct. Mm-hmm. And so I'm curious to know if you have that already. If not, if that's something we could do to make it easier for our families.
So very directly, no, we don't have something that's that fully developed. But is it something that I've been thinking about? The answer is yes. And while I said I wasn't going to think out loud right now, you did my thinking for me out loud. That's what was going through my head as Director Webster was talking, is that idea of a sliding scale. In our final form system, there could be a form added, everybody's form set when they join athletics or activities, something could populate. They could end up seeing that, right? That type of, so is there a way to end up doing that? And it's just part of that individual's information? Yes, there's a way to do that.
That'd be great, because I was thinking about this as I was talking to some other robotics students and others across our high schools, and they're talking about how everything costs, everything adds up, including paying for their AP tests. Mm. And so when you think about all these, it seems small, but all small now.
Trust me, the conversations I have, nothing seems small.
And so I understand we are, budget is so obviously tight right now. And so trying to think outside the box here. So just wonder if there's ways we could do that, not just through that for our activities and sports, but just everything, all the costs, right? I did have, do you want me to hold off until we have multiple rounds? Okay, why don't I hold off and let everybody else have a chance?
Sorry, I don't have my microphone. Let me go over here to Director Block.
There's a lot to be proud of in this report. If I heard correctly, it sounded like 20 of 23 teams made some form of academic recognition for the fall sports, which is just, that's shockingly good. That's
and the
really
others were within half of a point, right? So they were at 2.9 and 3.0 is the level, right? So
yeah, so that's awesome, and that really is a testament to our coaches helping support the academic needs of the students, as well as a lot of athletic achievement on the sports fields. ASB advisory, I'm glad to hear that your student helper is being helpful. When that student brought up some of those things, they were like, oh, it's shocking how different the different schools and the different ASBs look at things. And really, I think the idea was really to create just an exchange of information, not that there needs to be the same approach for every school, but that having open communication would help each of them solve their problems. So I'm hopeful that that's actually what the outcome comes out.
That is absolutely what the first meeting was all about. And when kids talk to one another and they look at each other and say, "That's how you do it at your school? Why do you do it that way?" I think they were hooked immediately. So yes, it's starting to move forward.
I have one student who does athletics. He did cross country this year. It was great to watch him out there on the fields. I was really excited to see and hear that the increase in sports fee and transportation fees does not appear to have significantly changed the participation rates. And so that's a testament to your work to make sure that the students who need it are getting some support for those fees as well as
Thank you.
Recognition. So I really appreciate that. I know that was a concern of ours as we, anytime
Truthfully,
we
it was
have
a
to raise a
concern of
fee.
mine. It was a concern of mine too, yeah.
I also have a student who really finds joy in the activities. And one of the things that I have appreciated is the efforts to elevate those activities. The Steamnasium, I think, is an example of this in providing them with a dedicated competition area, as well as, all the kids doing drama with all the drama activities that are going on right now. Those are memory makers for these students and also drive, lifelong passions. That's one of the joys of these activities and sports that you help oversee, is that a lot of students will look back on these as their greatest memories of their high school years or of their school years. So that's great. Can't miss out on showing appreciation for Jubilee Reach. I also will note that Jubilee Reach has a fundraiser. They're a nonprofit. They depend on community support as well. If you didn't register for that, it is an opportunity to provide donations through their website. We really do appreciate the support. My students have participated in your activities at International School, and I've seen hundreds of students and families participating in those activities through the district. So it is an amazing partnership that provides daily benefits to the students and gives them activities after school to look forward to and opportunities for competition on the field. I do have a couple of questions. I can hold those for later, or I can just go through them. There's just a couple.
Yeah, just give them a chance. I might as well tell them.
So one of the questions I'm trying to understand is there've been some questions about financing. I know that a lot of this is kind of ASB funds, which is a little bit separate from general funds and revenue. And if you can help us understand how the financing works as far as general funds and ASB funds, which tend to be donations and boosters and fundraising by the community.
So it's
easy question.
Yeah,
I know.
There's a lot there. So which side do we want to start with? The easy one to understand, transportation fees stay with the school. They stay in the ASB. So the district has for years contributed a small amount. They would donate a small amount to the ASB of each of the schools to help offset the cost of transportation. And as those costs have increased exponentially over the years, I think the most I've seen at one of the schools is $125,000, $130,000 in a year. It really hits at the end of the year. I work with each of the schools and their ASBs to try and offset that negative. There's always a negative there. They have a hard time budgeting because there's a variety of things. Trips get added, games change, all of that kind of stuff. So the $150 is an ASB fee, right? So it ends up getting applied to each one and stays at the school, and each school's line item, ASB transportation line item. The $200 pay to play goes into the general fund. And when, my understanding from back in 2007, I was a parent, in the district listening to the idea that they may cut, 5 or 6 different sports. And if you really want to see people get really upset in a hurry, tell them you're going to cut half of the sports programs at the high school level. Packed room at Sammamish High School, all those kind of packed commons at Sammamish High School at the time. So my understanding from way back then was that was designed to help offset overall the costs of athletics that were coming out of the general fund, coaches' costs. We had trainers that were getting paid. They were at the time employees of the district. There are safety considerations, safety equipment that we have to recondition every year. Those type of costs, they don't go anyplace, and they keep going up also. And so when I looked at what the cost was going to be this year, the idea was I'm not going to be able to do things that need to be done to put kids on a field safely. So we had to find a way to get some additional funds that we didn't end up negatively impacting classroom kind of work. So that's why the increase increase in these costs. We are being as creative as we can with the funds that are being allocated right now. There are decisions that we have to make. It's not like I'm out spending money on things that we don't need at this point. And then the other one, we have facilities we have to rent, between swimming and gymnastics and golf courses and things like that, that we do have to rent. Otherwise, we don't get to run the programs. I love the end of the year surveys in fall and winter when all of the aquatic athletes end up saying, get a pool. That's what they say could make the program better. I'll run out and do that. I would love to. So that's what's going into the general fund. The pay-to-play fee is there. The district pays coaches. I will say I am proud of that, the work that's been done, over the last decade and all the contract. I think it's 4, Jeff Thomas could correct me, I think it's 4 he and I have bargained with our coaches, and I am proud of the work we've done. We pay our coaches well. We expect a lot of them, but we pay them well, and it is very clear they are our employees over the course of the entire year, and they then take care of our kids accordingly, right? And they're expected to. So I hope that answered that question. Okay.
We have 10 minutes and I haven't gone yet, and then we'll do another quick look round. Okay, so I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for the slide explaining the thing about the 3A, 4A, whatever mixed, what did you call it, multi-classification? It does sound like an improvement, but I totally didn't know what was going on there, so that's helpful. And then also thank you for clarifying the school volunteer application, because that keeps coming up in PTA circles. So
tell anybody that needs to volunteer at bsd405.org.
Okay.
Go straight to a dedicated email inbox, and we answer.
They were asking if they could have little volunteer, I've already passed my background check cards or something to carry around, because sometimes the different schools don't look it up or whatever. But okay, and then I can't help commenting on the WA handbook. As you may know, I started trying to read it when I first came on the board, and without a law degree, I did have a paralegal from my son's team help out with parsing that thing. So
for good reason at that time too, for good reason.
And then I did want to say teams are so important for kids. I mean, you do look back on that as being, a highlight, just a real highlight of your high school experience. But I wanted, and I also wanted to thank you for fixing the double ASB fee thing that not everybody might be aware of. But when my son was in school here, we had to pay the ASB at 2 schools to be able to participate. So I think that's been resolved. But but my big thing is just a suggestion. The fees are large, and when you are a low-income kid, sometimes you're afraid to even broach the topic with your parents. This is assuming that the parents are, happy to go fill out forms and talk about being low income and plea for something. And so that works for some families, but I know that you might not even ask your parents. And so I was thinking that if you do focus groups, can you include some kids who don't participate in sports to try to get at why? Like, are they just not interested?
That's really kind of the targeted area, right? Is to find out who is not participating, not asking those who are already doing it.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk to,
It's the other side of the house that we're looking at that point. Who is not coming out and why are they not coming out?
Why are they not coming out? Because, So I misunderstood that. I thought you were just going to have some focus groups with kids who are already doing well.
They find me, trust me, they find me.
Okay. So let me just pass it on and we'll do another round. Director Rogan?
Great, thank you. The benefit of going first is everybody else has asked every question that I had for a second round. But I just want to echo the big appreciation for the volunteers only having to apply once. That came up at the PTSA council meeting as well. They were, because they're everywhere, all the time, everywhere, all at once. So that was daunting for them. So thank you.
If it would be helpful, you can tell them they can invite me to one of their PTSA council meeting. I can give them the language they need to cut through the bureaucratic red tape so they can go to the right person at each school and make sure that they can get.
Sure, they'd love that.
Yeah. Happy to do that.
Thank you.
And I'll just be as quick as I can. I just wanted to echo Director Aris's sentiment and President Watson around discretionary pathway for our students and families to be able to apply for financial support. I think that's something that that hasn't occurred yet in our district, and something that we should probably consider as an opportunity to capture some of those students who may otherwise not participate. And then, so the other thing that I wanted to kind of plug was that I was elected to the Interscholastic Activities Committee under the WIAA board. So I'm really looking forward to working with you. And I'm also inclined to speak with Director Block's kiddo, so I can get some learnings from them as well. And then the question that I had, and I don't know the legalities around this, so maybe Shannon can help, but I'm wondering, I know that when my kid was playing sports, there were days, lots of days where other like private schools would come and use our fields for their sports. Are we able to charge them for that?
We do.
Or, yeah, okay. Can we increase that? I mean, I'm just wondering if that's an opportunity to explore, since we have all these different teams using our
So
fields.
what I can share with you, and Chief of Staff Harrison will correct me if I'm wrong and then scold me in private later, is that there is work being done on the procedure specific to facility use and changing levels, and there's some work being done on levels, and part of that discussion I'm sure will end up being what should the fees be for each of those levels. So.
Excellent. And then I also know, just real quick, sorry, there are other organizations that look for spaces to have these activities. And so I don't know if there's a list or how
All
how
done
that's
through the
determined.
facilities department, and,
Oh, they have to do
trust me, people are tripping over each other, and our own programs are tripping over those that are coming in to try and use the facilities. Also, it is there is. I think if I would say, I wouldn't say we're 100% used all the time, but I would say there is not a day that you could walk by one of our fields and wouldn't see some organized group out there using one of them.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a few questions, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Underneath, I think the report that was shared with us for, you talk about inclusive activities, and I really appreciate that we're doing, working with the Special Ed Olympics and offering the track and field in spring for the second year this year, so that's awesome. I was wondering if you could explain to me what unified means under Unified Soccer program.
Yeah, so unified sports are actually an opportunity for, it's just a able-bodied, regular, student body, a member of the student body to participate alongside one of their peers who would qualify as someone with a disability. So they play on the same team. It's not, we're not talking about, sometimes you end up seeing on YouTube or something else where a kid just gets thrown in the last play of a football game and everybody stands still and lets them. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a regular game where they're taught how to work together, how to basically lift one another up and end up making sure that they actually cooperate as part of a team, a unified team. It is widely spread. It is something that I will say, somewhat embarrassingly, that we haven't gotten off the ground sooner. But I'm excited. We have a staff member at Interlake High School who, as soon as he saw this, said, "I'm in. What do I have to do?" So at this point, it's a place to start. We have somebody that we can champion starting at one school and have it grow from there.
So is it separate from the regular soccer season?
Yes. Yeah. So it's its own team. Special Olympics actually organizes the season. They have separate games. Mercer Island, for example, they have 3 different sports that they run. Some of the Seattle public schools have them as well. I think if I heard right, Ballard High School might have had 3 basketball teams last year. So it's something, once it catches on, that a lot of kids really enjoy. It's typically a 1 to 2 day a week practice and then a Saturday games, and they have games scheduled at one site. So we actually have talked to the Special Olympics about having their basketball tournament here in February, whether we have a team here or not, so we can host them so that people can end up seeing that type of inclusivity in the district. So
that's awesome. I look forward to seeing the communication to the community for those things. More of these we have, but more often we get, or will be better, will have a better understanding of each other and accept each other better. Regarding the middle school activities, I see that you also included tennis, softball being added to the activities. Under the whole idea of inclusivity and celebrating our diversity, I'm going to speak out. Can we offer cricket at middle school? As you know, my daughter plays cricket, and I get this question regularly. It's like, why don't we offer cricket at our schools at middle school, elementary level, especially given the diversity? And you think about, you ask the question, why do some of the kids don't participate? It's some of the things that they celebrate at home and watch is not necessarily football and basketball. It's other sports that they're more familiar with. And so I'm just going to throw it out there because I know people are listening and they're going to ask, did you ask that question? So is that, what is the possibility of offering cricket at middle school and elementary?
So I've had the pleasure of meeting a young lady that you sent my direction, and had a very lovely conversation with her about cricket and cricket in the area. There are a couple of things to consider that I really have to have at the forefront of my mind. One of them is that every 3 years we end up doing a Title IX interest survey. The two sports that are there were sports that there was a demonstrated interest, right? Cricket is not one that we had on this last survey. So if, for example, there were questions about why we added cricket when it wasn't something that we had even surveyed for, I'd shrug and say, because somebody asked me to do it and there was no indication that we had. So that's one of the things. The other part of that is, if I'm offering another sport right now, I'm going to be blunt with all of you. It's going to be for females first. And so if we offered cricket and I offered it for girls, I got to imagine there's a line probably 75 long outside my office say, when is it going to be here for the boys also? So I've got to strategically think about how and when we could end up doing some of that work too. And I've also met a community member who was highly involved in cricket in the country. It's definitely the one sport that's out there, knowing, and Krishnan is very, very convincing. And when he ends up telling me there's 6,000 people in this area that are playing cricket, it's something we got to look at. So it's there, it's tucked away in the back of my head. It's something that kind of eats away at me every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I wanted to put that push out there, given the fact that it is going to be 2028 Olympic sport. And so that question is brought to my attention more regularly than not.
I'm sure it is.
So I just wanted to make sure that I put it out there. I understand that next sport is for the girls, and I think it is, even if it is cricket, I think it's fair to start with the girls because the access for the boys outside the school system is great, but not for the girls.
Okay.
So like Director Block and me have a short turn, and then we've only got a minute or two left.
Yeah, so I'll keep it brief, but I also had some question about other sports. It sounded like you have some sort of year-end survey. The two other sports I'm aware of that there's growing interest in is flag football, which does seem like it could be a girls' first sport, with competitive football being a boys' sport already, and esports. And I just wanted to understand where we are in evaluating our opportunities for any of those.
So flag football, we're going to offer real quickly. We're going to offer the second season. KingCo itself, I think all 25 schools right now look like they're going to offer a team. So and then strategically, there are 2 amendments that are being proposed this year through the WI. One would be flag football as a sport. The other one is actually lowering the threshold so that a sport can become an experiment, strategically done. So that was done with flag football in mind. So yes, I think there is a path that flag would become a high school recognized sport. Esports is there. The last time we surveyed kids, they didn't want it to become a WIA sanctioned activity at our schools because of some of the limitations that it would put on what they can do. So is it something that we could end up revisiting? Certainly, but the last time we ended up asking kids, they were like, we're good with what we're doing right now. So.
All this makes me think of the immensely popular pickleball right now, but maybe that's just more in people our age. I don't know, but But, okay, but what I wanted to kind of wrap up with was, I'm still worried about fees. It just always touches me. And I will say, I have a artifact, a memento. In the last month or two, when my son was just getting ready to graduate, I went to the school accountant and I had her print off a report of everything I'd paid for his entire secondary, not including lunch. No lunch was on there. And he avoided all the expensive international focus weeks that went to like other countries and stuff. But he did go on some sports overnights with Interlake, but as required, well over $7,000. And that was years ago now. So
I would say you got off easy.
yeah, because we didn't do the big overnights or, the trip to DC or the trip to France or any of that. Just trying to keep up with the team and stuff. So it's a lot, and I can only think it's gone up. So that's where I'm going to end the discussion, and we have to move on to our board business.
Very quickly, and my apologies, but I feel compelled. Thank you, Director Block, for referencing the Jubilee Reach Festival of the Trees Gala. That is 1 week Saturday, November the 16th, and a great opportunity for folks to come out and support a great partner. And Jeff would kill me for doing this, but I am going to do this. Thank you, Jeff. And just to let you all know, Jeff was the State Athletic Director of the Year in about 2018, and he was also recognized in 2023 by the National Federation. About 5 athletic directors across the country get recognized for their work. So congratulations, Jeff, and thank you for all you do.
Okay, thank you. It's always interesting to hear from athletics and activities. Is that funny? Okay, now we're on to board business, and we're relatively on time. It's not too bad. So the first thing we have is the approval of Resolution 2024-17, Educational Programs and Operations Levy Certification Resolution. And we've been given 2 documents on that, a cover memo and the actual resolution. And who would like to speak to introducing that for us?
Good evening, Board.
Yeah.
Melissa DeVita, Deputy Superintendent of Finance and Operations. This is a resolution that we ask you to pass every year. It's so that King County will collect our property taxes for our enrichment levy. We ask them to collect what has been approved by voters. However, they will only collect the amount that we are permitted to collect based on the rules of the state and provided to them by OSPI. So this is an annual event, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
It landed on 3 last time, so we're going to go to Director 4 to start this one.
Yeah, I didn't have any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any, thanks.
No questions, thank you.
I'm just going to put that thing on the record that I asked, which is about the feedback I've gotten where people say, oh, we're bringing kids in from out of district and we have to pay more levy. And from what I understood, from what I was told on the Monday meeting, that it's half a penny per thousand assessed value. So we did some calculations.
Yeah, so I actually went and ran the numbers, and one of the things that I learned is that the median home price for this area is 1.5 million.
Wow.
Boy, have I been wrong. I assumed it was like 800,000.
Yeah,
so
it went up.
I totally missed that, but I ran numbers with our current number of students that are non-resident, and it actually is $57 a year for a homeowner that has a median priced home. However, I will say the same students bring $15 million into the district from state funding.
Okay, thank you. That is
And I
something
have no
I think people want to
questions.
know. Yeah, you have one more? Okay. I'm thinking you'll go next. You said no. Oh. I was like, okay. Does anybody have anything? Yes, who is on first here? I was like, it's your turn. No, it's not. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the board resolution 2024-17.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it looks like that got approved, so that's
Thank you
good.
very much.
Next, we're going to talk about the approval of the letter to the city of Bellevue. And who wants to lead off the discussion on this one?
I can introduce the letter and then we can go to discussion. And so this is the city of Bellevue is in their budget development cycle for their annual municipal budget as well as their capital projects budget for the next 6 years. This letter is an opportunity for the school district and the school board to provide public comment to their budget process. They have a budget hearing coming up on November 12th. This is an opportunity to present that during the budget hearing and give feedback to the Bellevue City Council.
Okay. I was just trying to pull up the letter. I didn't print that one out. I usually do. But we are ready for, I guess, to start the discussion with Director Aras.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to John and Phil for creating the letter. I know that unfortunately I wasn't present or was able to participate in this process. And I appreciate making that you've made some changes here regarding adding some bullet points, which I think is really important for people to understand what are our asks, as well as giving the whys, and especially on the early learning and childcare space. I think one of the things that we have to be really clear about, being in education space, I think especially with educators, we know why we need these things. But for those who are in leadership who are not involved in day-to-day or in the governance of the education space, their mind is not here. And so to bring clarity and ask why we're asking for their support, I think is really important, because otherwise just saying just because Seattle does it doesn't mean that we need to do it. So I appreciate that addition to the child care space. I don't have anything else. I think overall it's good. I think it's to the point. I think it's great that we're launching this conversation with this letter. I think it's important that we need to start it now and not later. So thank you.
Okay, so now, do you want to say some more, George?
Yeah, so I obviously I really look forward to the opportunity to present this letter to the city. When I ran for school board, and I continue to believe there are a lot of opportunities for synergies between the school district and the city. And I think that this letter helps outline some of those opportunities. Also, the changes in state budgeting for schools has meant that the school district is really being pushed to focus its funding on basic education. And there are some services beyond that the school district has historically been able to support, which it may not be able to in the future, and to work with the city to help ensure that those vulnerable populations and groups are properly supported. I also am going to have a minor motion with the letter. One minor revision is that I'm going to propose that we remove the superintendent because he's not able to vote on the letter. And then after we approve the letter, we can invite him to add his signature if he chooses to.
Director Block, on that point, the version that is posted to the agenda does not have Dr. Aramaki listed. So just wanted to make that point.
Because that's not the version I'm looking at, but good. What I wanted to say was, I just want to really thank you for going through all the information that you had and identifying those 4 areas. And I do wish we could call them out on the sidewalks too, but that's our bond funds. But I don't know if people know that we sometimes redo a lot of sidewalk that maybe used to belong to the city. But anyway, beyond that, the thing that really strikes me is the wraparound coordinator. I mean, that's the one thing that's on here that we already have and we're in danger of losing. And I can tell you from my years at Stevenson how important having a person in that position is. We do have similar positions in the district but with the budget crunch, you know, we couldn't just like backfill another 4 FTE or whatever. So I really want to drive that point home. That's so important. Beyond that, I will pass it on to who's next.
Thank you. Yeah. Great appreciation for the work that was placed in this letter. I think if folks haven't had a chance to read it, it is on board docs in draft form. It's super thorough, and I really want to call out just the comparative analysis that Director Block did in looking at how the different cities of Seattle, City of Mercer Island really have helped to partner and collaborate with the school districts to provide extra supports, and specifically student mental health needs. We know post-pandemic this has been a huge need, and to see that it's here in our letter with a real request to work collaboratively with the city on funding this is unique. Thank you.
All right, and Director Webster?
I think I had enough edits. I just want to express my appreciation as well. I think it's very well done, and I think it speaks to the need for a more collaborative approach between the city and the school district. And I'm just looking forward to more to come on that. So, and kind of more ways that we can increase that collaboration. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be looking for a motion, but it looks like we have one more comment.
I do. I was looking at the original before it was edited versus the latest version. There is a change that I think we may want to consider going back to the original, which is that on the new one, we focus on the child care as being low income, whereas in the before the edited version, it focused on let me see here. I think it's line 10. It's line 95, which says I think we say low income, but before it was edited, we talk about. I'm sorry, I asked John for the version before the final version, so I'm looking at that version, and our young family who struggle to find access to childcare and preschool is how it was worded before we edited. Now we focus on the low income. And I think it's important that we make it clear to the council that it's not just low income families. It's families who struggle because they're young and they need access. And so I'm wondering if we could somehow amend that language a bit to bring that back in. Yeah, so John, is it possible for you to email the original before it was edited?
I'm getting confused.
It's at line 105, 106 in the version that you emailed me. So the current line is line 94 or 95, and then the older version, it's at line 105, 106. Where it says young families struggling to find accessibility for childcare and preschool services.
I don't have that handy. I don't know if you do, Mr. Harrison.
I guess what I would like to say, I wonder instead of just saying low income, we could say low income and young families struggling to find accessible.
Yeah. Can we?
So there's a motion to revise that sentence. Do we vote on it? How does this work at this point? We're just proposing revising that one sentence.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can we have some discussion? Yeah, I think we should. It would be nice if we could see the document that we're talking about. I'm struggling here to pull it up on my. I had it.
Monica, are you able to pull up the current document and put it on the screen and go into line 94 and 95 of it?
So organizationally, what someone would need to do is
Exactly.
move to amend the letter prior to approval. That would need to be seconded, and then you could discuss whether or not you wanted to move to amend the letter. You would take a vote on that, and then you would go back to approving the letter itself.
Okay.
Okay.
So I
Oh,
moved,
oh, good, we got it up. Okay,
okay, so
good.
I moved to amend the letter at line 95 to add, what is the original?
You just add.
Young families struggling to find accessible childcare and preschool services.
Okay, that's the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Will somebody second it? I'll second it. All right. Now we can have discussion. Okay, let's see, where are we in our discussion?
I have no comment.
Okay, it seems okay to me. I know that it can often be like a mortgage payment, paying for childcare.
Yeah.
You know, so even if
Exactly.
you're not technically struggling, you could be struggling. Director Rogan?
I'm ambivalent, actually. I'd be curious about, is there data that indicates that that would be helpful in adding in this letter, our first letter to the city to request a collaborative partnership? I don't want to muddy the waters. We know there's clear data aligned with students who are, children who are coming from low-income neighborhoods. So I'm wondering about the cleanliness, the clarity of having this and maybe a second pass with a longer range plan, maybe being down the road. But I'm just, again, this is on the spot thinking, but I'm curious about the data behind it.
Okay. We're going to go to Director Webster for a second.
I actually agree with you, Director. And I feel like if we add young, I feel like it's limiting as well. So
Could be an old family with a kid.
young families, you know. And so I am ambivalent as well about adding that language without data to back it up.
I'm okay not having young family, but I don't want to limit to low income because I think that sets a mindset to in certain direction. And I think one of the things we have to be very clear, and this is one of the issues even at the federal level, is that when people think of low income, they think about below the poverty level, and they think of a certain number of 50,000 or whatever family of four, whereas in this is a known data that even HUD sees for our area, low income number is not what the federal states, it's actually like 79,000. And so there's discrepancy even on that. And so if you think about the cost of childcare or for preschool access is really limiting, and it's becoming more because of the cost of living. We have to think about that sector that are constantly left behind, and that sector is growing.
Yeah.
And if we want to have, if we really don't want that our perpetual gap of students who don't succeed to decrease, we have to think about growing that number who have access to preschool. And
Let's hear what Dr. Aramaki has to say.
My only comment, so it's kind of a yes and comment, because I agree that we, like having the city support early learning in general for people is going to be highly beneficial. To me, that sentence though is more it's more of a nod to research, because it says access to early learning programs for low-income families reduce disparities in academic and social emotional outcomes while providing more opportunities for parents of young children, blah, blah, blah. So it's more of a comment about the research about if you provide access to early learning for low-income families, there is research that shows gap closing outcomes for students. So that sentence is not really about asking the city to provide early learning for low-income and young families. So I agree with what you're saying, because I do think that early learning and childcare is unaffordable in Bellevue in general for many or most people.
Yeah.
But that particular sentence is a nod to research, which is not about young families. So I would say that probably would not be an accurate thing to say in that sentence. It's kind of
I-
a yes and, yes to what you're saying, but then I think that that statement is about the fact that early learning is a gap closing strategy for low-income families.
Yeah, may I weigh in as the author of the sentence?
Okay.
First of all, thank you to Director Aris, who basically said there needs to be a little more information as a preamble to that section. So I appreciate that. And that's exactly what I tried to do. Dr. Aramaki is bang on. That is what the research says. And then the last piece of the sentence, while providing more opportunities for parents of young children, all parents of young children, with the ability to pursue employment and education and mitigate childcare concerns, which are profound. So that was the intent.
Okay, any more discussion? Do we want to vote? I guess I'm going to have to reverse my position in light of what you just said.
Well, I guess the question is whether you want to vote or whether you want to withdraw the position. I saw some reaction there. So do you?
Give me 1 second. Let me kind of stew on it for a minute here. I hear what you've said, John. I guess what I was trying to think of, and I hear what you said, Dr. Aramaki, and I think you're spot on that, and same with you, John. I am just trying to think of, for our city council members whose head is not constantly screwed on focus on education, how is this clear enough? And I guess it should be good enough if we get them to the table to really consider this as being the first step. I'm okay, thank you.
So is that withdrawn then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now can we have a motion to approve the letter? Would somebody like to do
I
that?
move to approve the letter.
Would somebody like to second? Okay, great. All right, so any further discussion? No. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And we hear nobody opposed. I don't hear anybody opposed. Now, do we need to organize who's going to?
Yeah, so the intent is to provide both the letter and oral testimony summarizing the content of the letter on November 12th at their public hearing. And I'd like to propose that I go to that hearing and present the letter.
Okay.
So I make a motion that I go to the hearing and present the letter on behalf of the school board.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Would we like to discuss?
I do. I think I love the idea that you presented, but with the presentation, can we email it to them as well so it is in their system?
Yeah, the intent is that they get a hard copy as well as an oral presentation summarizing the content of the letter, so that we do both.
Besides the hard copy and the oral and email would be great. So it's in their documentation. That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, and I was just going to ask, is it good for you to go on your own, or do you need, like, I don't know, a show of force or something? Yeah.
I think it's at the same time as the other.
That's what I was just trying to get
Yeah.
to the calendar.
So
Oh, no, yeah, so it's hard for us to be free.
It is a busy day.
Yeah.
It's much like our public comment. There's just, a station where people sit and give testimony to the city council. So
So they just give you a minute or two?
3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we'll, I don't know, brave heart. And okay. Yeah, so any more things to be said? Any more discussion? Okay, then let's just.
No, I was going to say I could go if you'd like for me to attend.
Okay, so with all that, let's vote to approve Director Block going to present this. And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And it looks like you're going. And unfortunately, I think I'm going to a book study.
Hey. You're lucky enough to go.
Okay, let's go on to administrative changes to policy 1810-0150 and procedure 0150P. And we got a nice little chart here from Director Chief of Staff Harrison. I'm getting tangled in all these titles. Okay.
That's okay. Thank you, President Watson. And just for the record and for the community to provide a little bit of context, there are 3 policies that you have in front of you that we walked through on Monday afternoon that I am proposing administrative changes to. And as you know, typically administrative changes don't get approval in open public forum, but because these 2 policies and 1 procedure are in the governance and board series, they require your formal approval. So the nice chart, thank you, by the way, that you reference is, if you could just scroll down a little bit, Monica, that would be great. Right there, 0150, the policy there, you will recall that in July that you approved revisions to the equity policy and the equity procedure that in essence sunsetted the former critical criteria, and we replaced that with the equity-driven decision-making process. So those were basically the changes in 0150. Moving on to the procedure 0150P, there was a piece there with department and program reports. You heard a department and program report tonight. The previous procedure limited the number of those reports to 4 per year, and clearly we've already done 5 or 6. So that's not consistent with practice. So that was changed, and the language that replaced it is what you see on the chart. And then finally, 1810 is your annual governance goals, objectives, and board calendar. So the changes were specific to the board calendar. The former policy, the current policy talks about monthly planning calendars. And I think you all recall with President Watson's leadership and suggestion, we, for the past several years have had an annual planning calendar that is comprehensive, it's Excel format, it's very, very detailed, and not very readable. So President Watson suggested that we have a governance calendar that's, clear and concise, a visual representation and a summary of everything that's in that planning calendar. So the planning calendar is what we use for planning, but the governance calendar is what you use for, finding out what's on the next board agenda and what the community can see moving forward. So those are all administrative changes. So I'm asking for your approval of those administrative changes as presented.
Great. Would anybody like to move that we approve it, and then we can have
I
discussion?
move that we approve the administrative changes as proposed.
Second.
Okay, let's start the discussion. I'm lost in where we are. I think it might be. It's you. Okay.
I appreciate the updates. I think that these are all editorial, and I really appreciate you going through the effort of making sure that we're becoming consistent with our practice. Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that that you were willing to make us this nice chart because I think there was a temptation to just do the updates. Yeah.
Agreed. Really appreciate the clarity. And it's so tidy. Thank you.
I concur. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we can take the vote. So all those in favor of making these changes as listed in the chart, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, good. Thank you. Now we go on to approval of updates to the 2024-2025 policy schedule.
Yeah, so back in September, I believe the first meeting in September, you approved the policy schedule for 24-25. Last meeting, we came forward with a proposed first reading of a new policy on student representation to the board. And there were concerns and questions, and it was clear that the board needed more time to talk about a student representation policy. What I will say was the draft that was presented was based on a foundational document that former school board director Christine Chu brought to the board the previous year. And that provided a foundation. We made some revisions. We took a look at other policies and put all of that together in a first reading. So in conversation with President Watson, Vice President Webster, and Dr. Aramaki in agenda planning following that meeting, the idea or the proposal is that you all have a study session, so you have the opportunity to have a conversation about student representation. And that's going to occur, that will occur in the next school board meeting a week from tonight, November 14th. So the proposed revision to the policy schedule was to remove the date of the second reading and simply say, you know, and leave it blank. And then in the notes section, make a reference that the board will discuss student representation in a study session on November 14th. So it's open and you have the ability to go in whatever direction you choose to go. The second proposed revision was a policy 4220 that I actually made the change and considered it administrative. It was removal of one sentence, and that had already happened. So that the policy schedule used to have a line on for 4220, and I've just removed that entire row because it no longer, the change has already been made. So those were the two proposed changes. So again, looking for your approval to the changes to the policy schedule and look forward to your discussion on the 14th.
Okay, let's have a motion to approve this.
I move to approve the policy schedule as it's listed here.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, and then we'll start the discussion. I think it's rolling to me. And I was going to say, can you clarify about 4220, but then you did. And I will say I'm glad that we'll have a chance to discuss 1250 in more depth. So let me then pass to Director Rogan.
100% agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you. No questions.
No questions either.
No questions.
I just want to take a brief moment, and I don't want to speak for the whole board, but I think that the other board members feel similarly. By removing the schedule from the student representation, that takes nothing away from our interest in hearing student voice in our deliberations. We're just trying to find the right way to get that voice and to ensure that we're creating mechanisms that are meaningful, not just ceremonial, and that that students have equal opportunities to participate in. Thank you.
Thank
Well
you.
said.
Yeah, I mean, you know, after the success of the sustainability group. Okay, so if anybody has anything else to say, otherwise I'm going to say, all those in favor of this, please say aye.
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 All right.
Thank you.
Looks like that passed.
Hold on.
So
Aye.
where
Okay.
are we on our agenda? Aha. It's time for director discussion. And we're only 15 minutes late. How'd that happen? Thought we were on time. All right. Let's start with director discussion as time permits. We get to go for 10 minutes, so let's just take 2 minutes each. And it starts with Cindy. I went first on the last thing. Yeah. I went first on the thing we just did.
Great. I'll be brief. I know we have a long night
Yeah.
after this. We didn't have a chance at our last board meeting to send a shout out and big appreciation to Somerset Elementary for the school visit. That was just a month ago, and it was fabulous. There was a great turnout of staff, students, and parents. And I think we learned just so much about one of our largest, or the largest elementary school in our district. And we learned that Somerset's getting a lot of press in Beijing. We did not know that, I don't think, until the parents, one specific parent shared that there's a lot of folks coming from Beijing because of the great news about everything that's going well at Somerset Elementary in the Bellevue School District. So that was a great visit. I just also wanted to follow up with something Dr. Aramaki talked about, which was the CTE kickoff. President Watson and I were there, and I had the pleasure of being a part of the Culinary Arts Hospitality Group. I learned so much. It was exactly what I was hoping for, and then some. Tracy Green, the instructor for culinary arts at Newport High School, is a force, and had the pleasure of also getting to know Amanda Lee, Eiley Marode, and Ashley Marshall. Elena Morris as well. She's from the Ascend Hospitality Group was there. Just the conversation about what it takes to really lean into industry certifications at the high school level was fascinating. We have an amazing program, so much to be proud of, and it was great to be a part of that. Thanks.
Director Webster.
All right. Thank you for mentioning Somerset, Director. I totally forgot to do that. So really grateful to have an opportunity to connect with that community and parents and staff and kids. And it was a great time. And we're just so grateful that we had an opportunity to connect with them. So just real quickly, the next Rainer athlete meeting will be on the 13th. So I'm really looking forward to connecting with those folks. I often see them at some of our fundraising events and such, and it's always just such a delight to have conversations with them. They're just so dedicated to our students in our district, and I really enjoy connecting with them. Also wanted to, also had an opportunity to attend the Kids Quest fundraising event with Dr. Aramaki, and it was nothing short of amazing. They had all kind of scientific activities and exhibits up for us to actually like play with and participate in. And it was fun. It had an opportunity to make some magnetic faces with our mayor, Lynn Robinson, and that was fun. And we just had a great time. Other electeds were there, and it was just a really good time. So shout out to them who, they were so collaborative in partnering with our school district, and just really grateful to have them as a partner. I also attended the CUBE conference put on by the National School Board Association last week, and had an opportunity to connect with other board directors of color across the nation and talk about ways that they support their students in their districts. And surprisingly, not surprising, they're facing similar challenges that we are with enrollment, trying to find creative pathways to bolster that. There was a lot of conversation about what equity in education actually looks like. And there was a lot of opinions about that. Some of those discussions got pretty heated. And then in one session, we talked about well-intentioned equity policies that boards put in place that don't actually help them achieve equitable outcomes. And so that was really, really interesting. And they talked a lot about how they fail to address the how to improve student learning and bring change to instructional practices. So that was really interesting. We also had a really robust conversation about student representatives. I did not comment. I didn't need to because it was so heated and there were so many, the districts, people were at odds over the subject. Some folks were, championing it, because it was like a gold star for their district, but then they were challenged with questions around how do they support their students? How do they make sure their mental health is addressed? How are they equitably making selections to these? And there was no answer. So it got pretty intense, and I was just glad that I didn't need to even say anything because other districts said it for me. So it was just a great opportunity to build partnership and connect with other folks around the nation. Thank you. That's it.
Your artist.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say, I think Director Webster, I would mention it, that she's now been appointed to, or not appointed, has won the seat for the WIAA committee, and am on for the WASDA nomination committee for next year as well. I'm looking forward to nominating a few more board directors to participate at the WASDA level next year, so get ready. Your name will be nominated. one at a time. I do want to say shout out to our district, starting the conversations with our homeschool family members and listening to them and seeing, what are the needs and the asks. I was able to participate in that with, I think, Director Watson, and it was interesting to see. It was a small turnout, but it was good to hear what families had to say. Missed the CT, glad you went, and shout out to Somerset and having us there for the school visit. And I wonder regarding, after walking away from Somerset, and I think this many times every time we visit schools, is there a way we could share all the great things that's happening at each of the schools that could be shared as a deposit of good things that they could just kind of, all the different schools could look into and say, hey, this is what they're doing there. This is what maybe we could do some version of that. So kind of cut the chase of how to address some of the things other schools may be pondering on, but haven't come up with a solution. So I don't know. I don't have a solution, but keep wondering, there's got to be a better way to share all the good things. I'm curious to know if anyone was able to make it to Gumbo Night no? Darn. And I do have one thought, and I think I shared it with Dr. Aramaki before about liaison positions. In the spirit of how do we better connect with our larger community and also create partnership as, especially in this position as directors, I wonder if this is obviously not at a cost, if there's no cost involved. If there's ways we could do have a liaison position for working with different organizations like Chamber of Commerce or Rotary or any of the other organizations that fall under that umbrella to create better partnership and start that dialogue in any way we could facilitate that in our capacity. And so just a thought for all rest of the board to think about, maybe considering it as another liaison opportunity. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Director Block.
Yeah, it's great to hear the updates. I think we all feel similarly that it was great to see Somerset. If you base things on enrollment, it is our most popular school. And I think we felt that way, that all the families were really excited about the school and everything that's going on there. I was unable to go to Gumbo Night because as I was preparing to go, my wife trapped me and said, no, I'm required to make sure you're on time to a PTSA meeting where they recognized me with the Golden Acorn Award at the International School PTSA. So I was saddened to miss the Gumbo Night, and I will make sure I make it there next year. Also, I really appreciated that Doug James came out and spoke with the international school community. We had a threat incident earlier last month, and it was very timely that the PTSA meeting provided an opportunity for him to come and address it. And seriously, if there are parents in our community who see emails about threats at their school that they're concerned about, Doug James, our Director of Safety, is the person to talk to. He has great answers for comprehensively addressing your concerns. Obviously start with your school and your community, but if you feel that there are lingering questions, Doug James is the person who has those answers. And it was really great to hear him give those. I also really appreciated, Dr. Aramaki, your message that went out just before the election. I've noted several of the colleges that I follow have been putting out messages after, and I want to reflect on one of those. And kind of as the results of the election sink in, some in our community, and this includes students, parents, and staff, will be cheered by the outcomes. I had a neighbor who chose to shoot off fireworks at 3 a.m. I can only assume those based on the election. Others will be distressed. However we feel about the election's results, we must strive to make education and democracy protect and nurture one another. At our schools, that will mean a very intentional effort to protect and nurture the seeds of democratic culture. We must reject the cultivated ignorance that is used to fan the flames of hatred. We must defend the freedoms to learn together in our schools. I believe it is our work to be a diverse, energetic community of students, teachers, and staff who think critically and creatively and who value independence of mind and generosity of spirit. This work has never been more important than it is now. Thanks.
Wow, thank you. Well, I wanted to talk about more mundane topics. I wanted to mention that I also went to the parent partnership meeting about homeschooling. And it's oddly, being a school board director, a topic that's actually kind of dear to me, because I took my kid to homeschooling classes at Old Redmond Schoolhouse and made like a whole bunch of friends. So I used to hang out with homeschooling people for a little while. And then I chose public school because you have kids. You have other kids to hang around with, but that was for me. All right, and then I did go to the CTE thing, and Director Rogan was there, but we went in different breakout groups. So after having dinner with some theater people, I went off with the business people, the finance and marketing people to their meeting, and I sat around the conference table like we're having a meeting with them, but a bunch of teachers who teach in our comprehensive high school's business classes. The digital discovery teacher for the personal finance was there, and a couple of industry experts. And what I learned was, first of all, we need more industry experts. It would be nice, we had like 2 or 3, but it would be nice to attract more, although we did try. And they're all looking forward to their next meeting, which is going to be at Microsoft and provide cookies. They kept talking about the Microsoft cookies. But more seriously around what the kids are going to be able to learn. They were talking about, like, there's not really a certification within like the business curriculum that would lead to a job that you would get after high school. You basically do have to get a bachelor's degree, but they also talked about opportunities within like DECA to compete, and they talked about the clubs they try to run for the putting together stock portfolios, and it's like a competition. And they were saying mostly it's fake money, but for a couple of our kids, it's real money that they have in their portfolios. Okay. But the other thing I learned that, so they don't feel like they can really offer some kind of certificate. What would that be? That would although there is a certificate for knowing how to use the entire Microsoft Office suite, which could be a nice line on your resume to help you get an internship, which was another thing. They really wanted more internships. And I felt like the party pooper saying, well, the kids have to get their regular graduation requirements in. And we've had a little struggle finding internships for some of the schools that do offer them. But given all that, they would love more. They would love more internships. And in terms of Office, I thought it was also interesting that they said the kids really good at PowerPoint. All our kids, I don't know. It seems like we give a lot of presentations starting like in 2nd grade. They're not as good at Word as they think they are, and they're really bad at Excel. That's what I got out of that in general from these business teachers. So it was just a lot of fun to go there. And then I know we're past minutes, but I wanted to put a shout out to one really special volunteer whose name is Lily Yin. And she runs, you may not know this, a district-wide through the PTSA Council cooking club that has like a wait list. And she uses the facilities over at Salvation Army. And she's been doing this for a number of years. But the other thing that impressed me is that she did a Chinese PTA session entirely in Mandarin to explain like the history of PTA and why you want to be involved in it and all that. And I thought that would be like a real thing for us, maybe more PTA, but district-wide. I know we try to do these things in like Spanish or our other languages as we add them. So I thought that was really cool, introducing families to sort of family and community engagement. And so, that's it. So is that everybody? All right, we're a little behind schedule, but I have something I have to read to y'all. It was right here. Okay, so now we're going to be on a break very briefly, and Then we're going to go on to an executive session. So the board will now meet, well, now being construed as 6:42 or something, in executive session for 1 hour to consider the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of decreased price, to evaluate and review the performance of public employees, and to discuss with legal counsel representing the district potential litigation to which the district is or is likely to become a party to when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the district. We anticipate adjournment at 7:40, but I'm going to say 7:45 because we're running a little late. Okay, so we'll see you then. Yeah. 7, right. Okay. Right, recess, break. Let's get back over there as soon as we can.